Oh, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Lift Lab. Today we've got a special guest, Andy Nguyen. I just met Andy 2 weeks ago, I think about 2 weeks ago in Vegas at a one of his cafes. He's been opening some food cafes, right? And I met him at the One Piece Cafe, which was, for me, it was a pretty awesome experience. So welcome, Andy. Thanks for joining us today on the Lift Lab. And yeah, we've got Daniel here as well. What's up, Daniel?
Hey, what up, Andy?
What up, guys?
I was saying I could barely see you, bro. You got the camo gear on. Andy, we've been friends for quite a while now. I was there when you started getting into your food ventures, but man, I know you as I Am King Andy.
The former.
Hey, look, so Cal, I've known Andy for a bit, I saw him do things in food for a long time, but at the beginning, what he was kind of known for, he had a really popular streetwear line called I Am King. I don't know if a lot of younger folks know about this, but Andy, could you share a little bit about that?
Is it still?
I sold it off about 10 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. How'd you get into that?
So I guess this year's like my 20th anniversary of being an entrepreneur, dropping out of college. So I went to college for about 2 years, like less than 2 years. I ended up dropping out because my best friends convinced me to go do real estate as a career, and I had no idea what the hell he's talking about. But I said, hey, it's better than what I'm doing in school right now. So I'm gonna hop in, and I did it for a little over 2 years.
Yep.
Made a decent amount of money, but realized how much I didn't like the industry.
Yeah.
So I started jumping into what I really liked, and I jumped into fashion, and I started a streetwear brand.
Yeah.
Had no idea what the hell I was doing.
Yeah.
But quickly, started building a team that started learning, putting together the right pieces.
Yeah.
And I guess I had a knack for just studying other brands and what they did, and trying to put together what I would do if I were to start a clothing brand. And I think those pieces started to work out. And so I learned a lot about branding, marketing, building hype, distribution, all those things that you have to learn as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So you could say, there's that term self-made. Like you went out on your own. Mm-hmm. You said I'm done with college. Went out on your own, and you learnt all this on your own, meeting people, and just kind of figured it out as you went.
Yeah, because there's no other place to learn it. No one's going to teach you about, hey, there's no blueprint for, hey, this is how you enter the clothing industry. This is what you need to do. You have to pay attention to what's going on and learning about the market,
trends and everything.
And selling to stores is another thing, like wholesaling and.
How have you noticed the transition from when you started with social media and how you've had to evolve your business with technology and social media and all that? Has it changed a lot?
I think now, from watching apparel now from then, it's totally different. You could build a brand digitally and without having to deal with stores, right? But you can also build through the store way too. But there's so many different routes now that you have more opportunities than I did back then.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. And Cal, I don't know if you know. So just so the audience could hear this, just get some background on Andy. But not only did he launch some very successful, not only fashion, but in the food space, most recently, obviously we saw him at the One Piece Cafe. I've worked with Andy. We worked together on the Sonic Speed Cafe, so Sonic the Hedgehog. There's a Hello Kitty Cafe, and you've done stuff with Naruto. You've done the ramen shop. I mean, dude, you're that's crushing it.
You crushed some of the biggest
collaborations.
That's mega. How did you get involved with the One Piece, Hello Kitty, Sonic? Was that through that? So I met you at the licensing expo in Vegas. Is that how you
learned the
trade? Learned the trade.
Yeah, so I actually learned a lot of it through. So in streetwear, a lot of the brands were doing collaborations back then, right? And that's kind of opened that lane of no one was really doing co-branding the way that streetwear is doing it.
Right.
So when I entered the food industry, I kind of found my lane. I was like, hey, why isn't anyone doing this? Why aren't anyone making food cool? So I was going to put my streetwear personality into food, and it all kind of started connecting and clicking.
So tell me about so you did the Sonic pop-up. Yeah. Was that with you, Daniel, not long ago?
Yeah, well, we did the merchandise with Sonic, with Kevin, Phil. Shout out Kevin, Phil, and Andy. But Kevin, Andy, and Phil, they were doing some stuff in that whole IP. They did this project with, you were already in Web3. So the cool thing about Andy is he's kind of like I like to say that I'm at the intersection of culture and technology, right? I feel like Andy's always at this like at the cusp and right at the edge of where culture is trending. And I think Andy, you got an incredible lens of being able to forecast like what's about to happen or what's hot. You know what I'm saying? And then do you feel like that? Like it's almost like you just got a good measure and a sense of what's about to happen and what's gonna be good.
Yeah, I think my take on a lot of it is that I have that. I always want to be first, right? Part of that part consumer mentality of like what would get me excited, and the other part is I want to do it before everyone else does it, right? So if someone else is doing it, I'm already not interested. It doesn't excite me. So I'm always like, how do I find something? How do I make this different, like slightly different, tweak it so that when I come in, at least I can say I was the first one to do it, and if anyone does it after me, you're still second in line.
If you're not first, you're last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then the cool thing is, both of you guys, Calum and Andy, one of the things I really appreciate about both of you, like obviously there's like this big love for anime and childlike, interest, right? I was just telling Andy, like I just copped a vintage X-Men #2, and I was like, geeking out. I got the Wolverine #1. But like one of the we play Street Fighter, even though he crushes me every time he plays. But I think it's really important in business to have kind of like that childlike energy, right? This like learning, the ability to learn over and over and over again. And like one of the things I thought could be kind of interesting between the both of you guys, like this conversation of like having new beginnings. Like Calum, you literally just moved into a new place, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
like obviously we talked a lot on the first podcast about what happened in Australia. Like Andy, it was crazy. Like Calum has gone through like the craziest trials and tribulations over the last like 3 years. But and you were talking a little bit about COVID and like how Australia was shut down and locked down. But I think both of you guys have such interesting stories of starting over and keeping fresh and having that I call it like lifelong learners, right? Lifelong learning mentality. But maybe you guys could like talk a little bit about that, like how that attitude and that energy of being childlike or being kind of like having that kid heart energy towards business or towards fitness. How do you keep it fresh? You know what I'm saying?
Yep. That's a good point, Daniel. Yeah, like, and I think, like what is touching points, what Daniel was saying, like, I went through so I had a rough patch last year and the year before, and I mean, look, it's hard when you're going through it and you can't see any light at the end of the road, and it's like it's overwhelming. But this year's been really interesting so far, and just kind of reconnecting with Daniel and the team here and building this up. It's given me a real good, like, it's kind of reignited that spark in me to kind of go out and venture out and explore, not just the fitness avenues, because I've it's like kind of like it's like when you've done something, it's if you've been doing it long enough, it can get kind of a little bit stale. So I think it's cool. So I mean, for me, this is getting into the kind of the podcast and talking like this. It's all new for me. Like this is all new for
opening
me.
up,
Opening up, and I think it's definitely helped a lot. To be honest with, even with my mental health, just kind of addressing stuff or talking, and it's nice to have different guests and talk about different aspects of I've got personal life or business and fitness and life. But one of the questions that I had for you was going to be, what's your connection with like One Piece? And are you interested? Are you a fan of like anime and One Piece, or do you look at it as more of a business, hey, this is popular, because I mean, I've been a fan of One Piece since I was about 12 years old, right? I've watched it since I was, on the school bus, before school and shit. And so I've been like Naruto. I've been a lifelong subscriber on Crunchyroll. Have you like? Are you deep down into is there a weeb inside? I'm a bit of a big weeb.
I'm definitely a nerd in just pop and youth and nerd culture in general.
Yeah.
Right. Already. I'm always I love in love with fandom culture of certain things and just like really immersing myself. I think that's why I try to do certain projects. But the projects I do, yes, business aside, I'm hoping you're always hoping that it'll do well, right? But I'm trying to make sure that each project is intentional. That if I do it, can I bring it to life in a way that the fans will enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
If I were to come in as my fan part, what are elements from it that I would like to see?
Yeah.
And try to put that into each project that we're launching.
So have you got like a kind of like a calendar? Have you got like a few other cafes that you've got?
A list that I want to do
that you're wanting to do? Because
I got things under wraps that I am working on and projects that I think are special. That'll definitely make my 4-year-old self proud.
what inspired the One Piece Cafe? Because that food. Because listen, when I went there, because I was like, okay, it's a One Piece themed cafe. I'm a bit of a picky eater.
Yeah.
But when I sat down and I had the food, it was immaculate.
Yeah.
The chef, like that food was delicious.
Thank you.
And I was like, yeah, I was really excited. And the presentation, it literally felt like you're eating probably food from the show, right?
Yeah.
And when you watch like anime, when you watch them eat food and ramen and stuff, it looks so much more appetizing.
Yeah, it looks so good, right?
So bringing that to real life, that's really neat.
Yeah, I think,
you know?
and definitely, thank you for those comments. We really, with these projects, if you go to a lot of these themes, they've had all these other themes or collaborations, but usually when you go there, the product usually falls flat.
Right.
And I think for us,
You nailed it.
being in the food background, we always want people to know, like, hey, when you try the food, it's gonna be like we're trying our best to put out the best product possible.
So did you know like with the chefs and stuff? Did you go through what was that process like? Getting that cafe up and running.
So we
How did that happen? Yeah.
We had to find the right location, which is already a hurdle in itself.
Yeah.
Trying to work with the right chefs to develop it.
So did you go through like a screening? Like did you go through?
We ended up working with a James Beard Award-winning chef at the time, and
I felt like Sanji was out the back.
So we wanted to make sure, because especially with you're running with the chef Sanji on the show, you need to make sure the product tastes good. So we worked with a strong chef to develop the menu.
Yeah.
We had to go hunt down this One Piece cookbook. You couldn't. They sold out, so I had to go dig through websites to find it.
A One Piece cookbook.
Yeah, and I had
what's the One Piece cookbook?
The One Piece. They made a One Piece cookbook just based off the
recipes.
Food.
No way.
So we're like, hey, let's hunt this thing down.
Yeah.
Because we need this book in order to like play off of these items, whether it's exactly like it or it's our version of it. But we need to stay true as we can to the show.
As close to the show as possible.
Yeah. So we got that. I ended up finding that book on eBay, and
it's like the One Piece. You're going after your own quest for the one recipe.
Cal, we gotta do a One Piece fitness guide. Do a One Piece meal prep program. How do you look like these guys? You know what I mean? That'd be funny.
Even the cakes are you saw our gum devil fruit cakes and all those stuff.
Yeah.
Like the details on it, we had to make sure to do it right, and we spent a lot of time putting that together correctly.
How long's the cafe going to be open there for?
Well, we're slated to October right now, but hopefully we go longer, and hopefully landing another location that I can announce.
So how does that work? So did you get like a lease agreement, or you get or the license expires after a certain amount of months?
Yeah, so a certain amount of time that we have our deal for, and hopefully we try to extend it and go longer.
Can you open in new locations and keep would you just
would have to work a new contract again and go through that whole process again, which is a whole nother thing.
Is that? Yeah.
Andy, how do you stay like motivated to do? Because look, I've launched a lot of projects, right? And like how many? So a couple questions. So one, how many cafe or food projects do you think you've launched in the last 10 years? And then how do you keep motivated?
Concepts wise, I think I've done over 20 something concepts. Doors, number of doors, I think I'm well over 90 doors in the past 10 years now.
Jeez.
She's 90
doors with everything.
Like meaning doors, meaning like restaurants.
Yeah, brick and mortar spaces that we had open here, still here, closed or whatever, but it's been around that.
Geez, it's like nine a year almost.
Well, Afters itself was 31 locations when we did that one, so that that itself is already a third of everything.
And these are all in the US. Have you done any international?
Yeah, we've done stuff overseas. We've done stuff in the Philippines. We opened. We have 3 burger shops that are currently over there. Stuff in Korea and in Taiwan.
Yeah. And you were almost looking at even Australia at possibly
Yeah,
opening that
I was
ice
over there.
cream?
I was like I mentioned earlier. I went to Australia to back in
Scouting
2015 to look at a potential franchise deal.
Oh,
back
ice
then.
cream.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That sorry not sorry ice cream. Is that your?
Oh, those are my friends' spots. Yeah,
Yeah.
my friends own that. They
No,
do
good
excellent.
ice cream. Bit
Yeah.
of a drive that one, but it's good ice cream.
Yeah, my buddies, they're killing it right now. So
Yeah,
I'm happy for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's have you got? What's lined up? Like, have you got another anime themed cafe in mind, or you just kind of focus on what you got right now in front of
I
you?
definitely have other projects in mind. I still have a lot of IP stuff, but I still also want to showcase a lot of original projects that are not technically tied to IP.
Yeah. What's IP?
Like tied to any type of brand. Like
Yep.
it's just like an original food concept.
Intellectual property. Yeah.
Yeah, like similar to what I have my burger Trill Burgers concept, where
Yeah.
I just have a concept out and we might do collaborations here and there, but still a project that lives on its own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
So Andy, can you talk a little bit about that? Because I just heard this great quote. He's like, a lot of people are climbing on a hill, right? And they get 3/4 of the way up, and they realize like maybe this is not the hill I want to climb on. Like this is the wrong hill. And he's basically saying we have to be fools. We have to understand like maybe we'll be foolish on this one, and I'll climb down the hill and start over, right? But other people just stay up there. They stay stubborn at 75%, and they're climbing on this hill that maybe is never going to really bear the fruit that they want. You know what I'm saying? But Trill Burger, kind of crazy, right? Like, how did you? Because honestly, Andy, like one thing I've seen about you, and I think anyone would attest to, is you're almost like this master at reinventing and starting over. That's what I was trying to say. Is like, this childlike energy, right? Like, how can you walk through that? Like, how did Trill Burger happen, and like, how did you reinvent? Like, can you talk a little bit about like reinventing and the whole Trill Burger process?
Yeah. First, I'll talk about reinvention and continually how do I have that mindset to keep pushing through and trying different things, right? And be willing to fail if it does happen, to fail over and over again in order to reach something else. I think for me, I always say the reason why I do so much or I look crazier every single year is because I feel like my best work is still ahead of me. I feel like I have not even peaked yet, right? I feel like my ideas are getting grander. I feel like my team is getting so much stronger that it opens up so much more possibilities for what I can accomplish out there. Whether it is in food or it is something else later on, right? I still feel like I haven't peaked out yet. So that's why I'm gonna keep pushing the envelope to see
where you can take it.
where I can do, and whether if it leads to something different, or it leads me on a path that's not entrepreneurship. Whether maybe it's just me helping people from then on. It's just as long as I'm still having fun, or I still have the energy to do it. Right now I have the energy to do it. That's why I'm going to keep going. In terms of Trill Burgers, so Trill Burgers is an interesting concept, right? It's a smash burger concept, right? That I had this idea for. So a few years ago during the pandemic, right before the pandemic started, I worked on this store in Houston called Sticky's Chicken, and I opened in January of 2020, and 2 months later the shutdown happens. Right, the shutdown happens, and I'm like, my wife's not letting me fly over to Houston, so I can't check on my store for like over a year and a half. I technically don't even know what's going on over there. I just know that it's not doing very well. So by the time I fly there in 2021, I get there, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? The store is dead. Like, are you guys doing anything to like boost up traffic in the store? They're like, not really. I was like,
They had no one cracking the whip. They didn't have
nobody.
anyone.
No one was there to watch
no
them.
one to lead them.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, well,
they couldn't do it on.
if the kitchen's not doing anything, how about we like come up with how about we throw another concept in here to like boost the traffic up?
Right.
And so I came up with this idea. I was like, okay, well, I did a smash burger concept in California. California is doing really well with smash burgers. No one's doing it in Texas, and we should do it here. But if we do it here,
what's a smash burger?
Smash burger is like the patty it's like pressed down flat to where the edges are crispy, so you get that texture of crispiness. Yeah. And it's just like it's not
a clean cut.
Yeah,
it's just like
flat, easy to eat. It's like you feel like you can eat a couple. You can just knock down a couple of those.
Yeah,
right. And it just has that I think for me like childlike feeling of having a simple backyard burger.
Yeah.
Right. Just like it's just more elevated in textures and flavors now.
Probably tastes a lot more real, better than the.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And then I knew if I wanted to do this concept, I couldn't just launch another concept again because with the same team, we would get the same results, right? Because I'm not there all the time. And I was like, all right, who better to reach out? I'm gonna reach out to the unofficial mayor of Houston, and that's Bun B, the rapper Bun B. He's already visited my stuff. I had some type of relationship with him, and he likes food. So let me just reach out to this guy and shoot my shot and ask him, do you want to be a part of our burger concept? And he came by. He's like, I'll come and try it out. He tried it out the first time. It wasn't quite there yet, and so I was like, hey, give me a week. So I made the cooks in the kitchen from Houston fly over to California and have my California team train them how to do it correctly. And then came back and he's like, hey, this is the best burger I ever had.
Oh damn! So he linked up. He helped.
Yeah. So he became a partner. He became a partner in this project, and we named it after his quote, which is Trill. That's his. That's what he has on all his albums. He popularized that word, so he ended up calling it Trill Burgers.
As I say, the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah, and from then it's we end up winning Best Burger in America on Good Morning America.
Wow.
We've had almost every celebrity rapper has eaten the burger, from Travis Scott, Drake, Jay-Z. The list goes down on who's had this product. And, it tests to, obviously the product is strong, but having Bun B on the team that cosign is powerful.
And do you think a lot of that success was due to getting the right team and the place, getting the California crew out there to Houston?
100%. I think everything that aligned, from the timing to not having a smash burger there, to teaming up with Bun B as a rapper, as to co-sign the product, I think it all aligned at the right time and right place for us.
Yeah. Right people.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting that you bring that up, Andy, because it's like, that's one thing as an entrepreneur I found too, is like, I noticed that like 80-90% of entrepreneurs or people just cap their mentality of what they think they can't do. Like they're like, hey, I don't know if I could do that, so they don't take the action on it. Or then they'll see something that you do, Andy, you're like, I had that idea, I could have done it. It's like, well, you didn't go and hit up Bun B.
Yeah.
You didn't have, the childlike, like
creativity.
I don't want to say.
And I think it takes, and I think that, and everyone's different. Not everyone has that creativity or that innovative mindset. I'm sure you must have had that since you're, you probably grew up having a creative, concept, or thinking, laterally outside the box. Not everyone gets it, It's,
or even just having the guts to shoot your shot and asking Bun B, right? You're not even
just having some cojones to go and ask the mayor to join up with you, have a bite of your burger or something.
But also a point of that is I also had to have some type of track record to prove to him like I could do this, right? Because I'm sure thousands of people have approached him in the past to do a business project. And
that's the thing. A lot of people talk, but how much can actually back their words? That's where probably a lot of the difference is too.
Yeah, there's a famous quote: "You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take."
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it's like,
who was that? Michael Jordan?
Interesting.
I think so.
I think that was Michael Jordan.
Michael
Yeah. And here's the thing, right? It's like, all those shots that you take in practice that nobody sees. They only see the game winning shot. They see the Sonic Speed cafes. They see the Hello Kitty cafes. They see the One Piece cafe, but they don't see all the other shots that bang bang. You know what I mean? And like having to work through all that the hardship. But like, to your point, and to Calum also, like, this is the Lift Lab. Obviously, Calum is a 3-time Miss Universe. He's had success in the fitness space. But, one of the thoughts that I have a lot of times in just business is a lot of times you aren't what you started off as. You know what I mean? You weren't, at different periods, like Calum, like when you're lifting, like right now, you're like rebuilding right now, right? It's like, aren't you always testing your body and seeing, hey,
it's just fine-tuning it. You're right. Yeah, exactly. And after... it's like, and I've had plenty of failures, mate. Like, I've had wins and successes, but I've also had the failures, and the failures are what you learn the most from. And they don't define, I don't let them, I have let them define me, and I've fallen further down. And then I've looked at them and addressed them, embraced them, and then learned from them, and looked at how I can just fine tune and what I have to do to, make a difference or work around. It's like, it's working through obstacles, right? And I think that's where probably a lot of people get discouraged, and especially new entrepreneurs, when they hit that obstacle, when they get the barrier, and it's overwhelming, and that's probably when, you got different, it's probably especially when you have, the right team and the support and people around you to help, give you some support and help you around. But, it can be, so I see what you mean. It's you're constantly, and I'm doing it too. I'm always, even when I'm training in the gym, I'm like, okay, I'm familiar with this, but I'm constantly kind of having these conversations in my head, like, okay, well, how can I do this better? Or how can I be more efficient?
Yep.
Time saving, work smarter, not harder. How can I save myself? How can I avoid injuries? How can I get to, like I apply it to the gym, and you probably the same thing with your business,
Same
right?
thing in business, yeah. And I've gone through.
Yeah.
Obviously, we talk about the highlights. I've been through, hell and back through business as well, right? Just like learning through things, having partners that didn't make sense. It didn't fit the right core.
Yeah.
Different values, signing bad deals. A lot of.
Do you have trouble like when you meet people or working with people? How do you discern? How do you know that they're trustworthy, or do you have trouble with that? Or
that's a tricky thing. I think I always say early on.
Andy's like, how much time you guys got?
because I struggle with this too. You don't know who to trust sometimes.
I say early on, I've always been very easygoing. So I was like, I'll say yes to anybody.
Right.
But 9 out of 10 people are not going to follow through with it. So it ends up going nowhere, right? But it takes a long time. There's some guys that are great sales guys that are great at reeling you in, and once you get to it, you're like, man, what did I get myself into? But it's hard to tell. Even like late into my career, I've still come across that here and there. But I try my best to see the red flags as early as possible.
And do you think, like, now that you're well established, you probably don't have as many time wasters coming to you. You probably can be a lot more selective, and you probably just looking and talking to people who've got reputation, who've got people that, hey, they can vouch for them probably as well. So, but at the start, I mean, when you're starting out, geez,
you're taking it. You're down to work with.
You just shoot from the hip. You don't know. It's like the Wild West.
You're not even looking at contracts correctly and not reviewing it, and a lot of things that get you into a lot of trouble that lingers on for years that you have to deal with. I'm like,
gotta have a good attorney.
Yeah, you gotta evolve, man. Like like in the fitness space, right? Like, I mean, I work out. I mean, Andy, I know you've been doing marathons and stuff, but you can't train and do the same workouts that you did when you started as when you're developing, right? Like when you're a little bit more seasoned, you can't play like you did when you started out. You know what I mean? You got to evolve and you got to play a little different. One of my favorite things that one of my mentors says, like, you got to prune. Yeah. Like the bushes grow. Like, hey, if you're good at business, you're gonna grow your business. But Biggie Smalls says, "More money, more problems." You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? But and I think that's one of the things I've seen really successful people do is they know how to prune, when to prune, and what to focus on. Like I've heard another thing, like Steve Jobs said, I'm more proud of the 99 things that we say no to than the one thing that we say yes to. You know what I mean? And they said of 100 things, we say no to 99 and we say yes to one. And he's like, I'm more proud of the things that we say no to. I hope I'm not butchering that quote, but I think the reality of it is when you achieve more success and you get more gains and you start doing more things, right? You can't be available to everyone. You'll be great at nothing. Yep. You know what I'm saying? You'll just be average or mediocre. But in order to achieve greatness, I think that's one of the key things that I've noticed with successful people. They have a really good radar for what to focus on. Right. But to your guys' point, you do need to try a lot at the beginning, right? Yeah. Like you got to figure things out. You know what I'm saying?
And then you're honing your skills. You obviously master your skill set along the way. And you're like, hey, I totally suck at this. I'm not going to touch this role at all. If it's like dealing with legal or money, I was like, don't ask me. Talk to that guy.
Yeah.
You want to talk about creative? I'm right there. But anything else, leave me alone. Yeah.
So like knowing your lane, right? Yeah. And Cal, like in fitness, right? Like you talk about different workouts for different bodies, right? And like understanding your body. Is that kind of like how it works too, right? Like in fitness is like, hey, it's not a one size fits all for every single person, yeah?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's for at the beginning, you can get a workout program and kind of follow the sets and the reps and the guidelines, but eventually you're only going to grow to you're going to be maxed out into those guidelines. If you don't start breaking out and going past or pushing yourself or doing more, then you're always going to be cultivated to those that amount. You got to test yourself, push yourself. They're definitely relevant in the fitness and in the gym for sure. Yeah.
And you feel like that too, Andy? Maybe like with the restaurant stuff is like at the beginning it was like templated, like, hey, this is how we do it, and it's almost like that's when the creative genius kind of starts to
Yeah, you gotta
emerge.
find the
Like,
extreme.
Did you
something-
step out? Did you step out of the lane and just find your own?
Yeah, because I didn't.
Kinda-
I didn't come into food and beverage restaurant industry
The
with
same as everyone
with a
else.
food background. I had no background, so I came in
Yeah.
as a different. I came in at a different lens. I'm
fashion.
like,
Yeah.
hey, why is anyone doing this?
Yeah.
Right? It's like, what, you guys do. Does anyone not see it
Right.
besides me? And then no one sees it. I was like, okay, this is how I'm gonna enter.
Because they're all following the program.
They're all following the same thing. You gotta
same
go,
track,
you gotta
yeah.
go to cooking school. You gotta do all these things. You gotta hire this in order to do well. I was like, I don't have time for that. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna come this way. I'm gonna come left field and see what happens.
Do you have like an ultimate, like kind of a dream or a goal or something that you've like, hey, I really want to like achieve this in the restaurants and the food and the fashion? Is there something that you're like gravitating towards that you want to accomplish? Like,
Yeah.
or, yeah, have you got a few big?
I talk all the time like that. They call it the impossible goal. I was like, hey, my idol out there is Walt Disney. I was like, okay, I want to build my own theme park. I want to do my own theme park, my version of
what?
it. If I could build a theme park one day, what would it be like?
So is that what? Is that like a is that? I think I heard someone saying about like an anime theme. Was that you, Daniel? Someone mentioned an anime themed.
They signed.
oh, I was saying,
they're opening.
I was saying in Japan they have like this island where they have these
What kind
like
of theme
anime.
park are you thinking of doing? Like what?
Me, I would apply like I think all the stuff that I'm into and just put,
Yeah,
all
it's-
this fandom stuff from cool culture to
Yeah,
pop
it's a
culture,
and then
start
incorporate that
applying
into a
it.
theme
Yeah,
park.
whether it's the entertainment side, the shows, the food, all of it. Like
That's
I gotta
amazing.
do something that's
I love it.
that's different and no one's done yet in that realm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
Where
like,
would
hey,
you
like,
open?
kinda like
The cool
Where-
Disney, like the cool version of Disney.
Where
like,
would
you know?
the cooler version,
Yeah.
right? Not the for the yeah. Where if in the ideal scenario, where would you open a theme park? Which country, city, state?
Well, I'm from California. If you ask me, I'm always gonna try to
It's
do
gotta
something
be here
California.
somewhere?
Right? Yeah, but tough to find the space here, but not impossible. Yeah.
Yeah. I reckon,
Hey, would you
what?
do
I
it-
reckon
would
they
you-
need a
would you do
huge
it in
water
Westminster?
park. They need a massive water park out like near like Temecula or Marietta or something because it's so boring out there.
Oh,
I
yeah,
lived there. I
deep
lived there
down
for
there?
10 months.
Yeah.
There's not much to do unless you're into like wineries and the casino.
Yeah.
But they need like a big water. We need like another water park down the south here somewhere.
Yeah, they definitely need more over there.
Yeah? Right?
Yeah.
I'll be down.
I was gonna say, how
You'll
crazy
catch me
would
in
it
the
be
lazy
if
river.
you did it in Westminster, bro?
Oh, no, I can't flood that area.
Hey, so so one other thing I was noticing right here, and Cal, we've talked about this, how important it is to dream and have goals, right? Because once the dreams start to fade, and you
Then
have
just
short
existing.
goals.
You're just existing. It's like what do you do? If you don't have dreams, you don't have goals. What are you
No
doing?
purpose. Yeah.
You don't have purpose. Yeah, that sucks.
And like,
It's not good. Yeah.
and are you Andy? Do you feel like you're reinventing your dreams too as you go? You're like, oh my gosh, I achieved this. Oh, my dreams are getting bigger and clearer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I can't. If you told me 20 years ago I'd be in this position of doing what I'm doing right now, I would laugh my head off. I'd be like, no way, right? You
Yeah.
can't
predict
like
that.
you can't draw the story, right? The story that I'm doing right now, it is not normal for sure. I'm in a weird position doing a lot of interesting things that a lot of people would love to be doing right now, and you just even a lot of people that I meet along the way, I'm like, what? How did this even happen? Like, how am I even in this room with this person or whatnot? Like, how did I get here?
What's probably like some of the biggest celebs that you've ever met and collabed or worked with or had come to your restaurants?
Yeah.
Or
Drake is probably the craziest. Drake is crazy because he came in at his height of his career, right? Like you can't even pay this man to walk into your store and eat your food, right? Like
Yeah.
we have, I have him in my store. He's right there eating a burger. I'm filming it right now. It's like, this is not normal. Like, you can't find pictures of this guy eating food,
way.
right? And I
No
and I
way.
have it. And that's a rare thing. That's a cool thing to say into my thing. Like,
that's pretty mega.
and I think like 15 years or 12, 13 years ago, I had Kendrick Lamar. I met Kendrick Lamar years ago before he became a superstar, right? This guy's running around my office grabbing clothes. And he came in because there's another artist that was more popular than him at that time.
Yeah.
I was like, who's this guy just grabbing all these clothes, right? And he was just doing all these photo shoots. I didn't know he was gonna become who he is now. It's just crazy. I was like, this
Wait,
guy's just in my office.
That's so
grabbing
funny.
stuff.
Like, is this something going on with Kendrick Lamar and Drake at the moment, or it was like a diss or something?
Yeah, they're diss tracks right now.
Yeah. It's so funny that you work with
both
like,
of them. Yeah,
both
had
of them.
something, a connection to both in some weird way.
They're
but
kind
yeah.
of relevant. They're kind of trending a little bit recently. Yeah.
So a lot.
Funny.
I've met a lot of artists and celebrities and been on calls with a lot of executives that I've looked up to growing up in music industries or whatnot, and it's crazy that I get to be in that same realm to be able to communicate and learn from them.
Is there anyone particularly that you have your eyes on that you feel like that you would like to work with, or people that you admire or respect? Or not really, or you just kind of more focused on your product and your services and
I'm focused on my product, but I'm always open to
different collaborations.
Collaborating with people that I've admired and watched over the years, or just not even having to collaborate, just having a conversation or be able to pick their brain on certain things.
Yeah.
And I do, and I have access to some of those people that I do talk to, those guys that I've admired over the years that I'm like, hey, I've been studying you for years, and now now you're just in my phone book where if I have a question, then I'll message you and ask something.
That's pretty
And
awesome.
that's a blessing in itself.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah,
Andy,
true.
are you still having fun, man? Like, how's the fun meter with all
fun
this? I'm just
meter-
curious. Like, and
Like you said, there's two parts of it, right? Some of it is in terms of funness and the coolest projects I'm doing. I'm definitely on a high right and living in a high right now. But at the same time, we talk about more money, more problems. A lot of stuff comes out when you have more money. A lot of people want certain things, and you're dealing with the legal side and other things that you don't like dealing with before. Yeah, you never had to encounter before, and you're like, what is this? But you know, it's good and bad at the same time. But that's normal. It's balance, right? You still have to go through it, and you can't be on this high horse all the time. So you got to kind of find your balance within it.
oh, bro, that's why I'm telling you. Like, I was telling Calum too. I'm like, my entrepreneurial friends. It's almost not like we don't brag in front of each other and like, oh, look what I'm doing. Like, it's more of like, look at all these scars I have, bro. Like, I have this agency coming after this now, and I gotta go through these things. And honestly, I've heard of like some of these guys are like, hey, dude, people don't realize that with success comes, more people coming after you for things, right? And it's like some of these like super successful people, they're getting lawsuits all the time because they're a target all the time, and it's like it's so draining, right? It's like, you start from this like young buck that's like you're just trying to climb and make it finally, and then you finally kind of get some stability and you make it, and all of a sudden now you get this next level of people just trying to rip you down, right?
Yep.
And then you're like, dude, I just want to keep this momentum going. You know what I'm saying? And I'm curious, how do you keep, like, for me, one of the things, and this is key for me, like one of the things that keep me going is kind of what I was saying at the beginning, is like keeping it fresh and like not getting jaded, like always doing new things. And like one of the things I saw you do recently, Andy, like you did a marathon, right? It's like, what the hell? You know what I'm saying? Like,
run a marathon?
yo, food.
Yeah, I ran last year. Last year, I just 2 days before the marathon decided to sign up and go run for it. Just run
You're
it.
kidding.
Yeah.
42 kilometers.
I did the half
Half
marathon.
marathon,
I did a
21
half marathon that year.
21 kilometers.
But yeah,
Yeah, that's
definitely.
impressive. Anyone that can do half a marathon, even half a marathon, I don't know. I find them. I'm terrible.
You want to see a grown man cry? That was me during that run. In pain.
I don't know. Yeah, that would be. That's. Yeah, have you? What's your like? Are you like into like you do running or?
No, at that time I was
so
not.
what? Hang on.
At that time I was not. Now, yes. Now it's
What
becoming a
got you?
lifestyle.
What made you go? I'm gonna do a half marathon. What was the thought process for that?
I was hanging out with a friend, having dinner with a friend that night, and he's like, "Yeah, me and my students are gonna go. We're all signed up. We're all gonna do the half marathon." And he's like, "Some of the kids are just gonna walk it." I was like, "I can walk this thing. I'm just gonna sign up." And then I end up texting a few of my other buddies, and I convinced 3 other guys to join me 48 hours before the run to go do this thing.
How long does it take? I'm guessing like about 4 hours. Or
No,
5
the
hours,
half
5
marathon
hours?
will take you, if you're running a good time,
5.5.
like 2 hours.
Oh.
If you're, I finished at 2:53, which
So almost just under 3
under
hours.
3 hours. But I was,
You had a good pace.
by mile 11, my uphill, my legs just both cramped out. I was just crying. I was like, call an ambulance right now. Like, what's happening? I can't feel my legs anymore. How do I get out of this?
Where was that? Where was it? Where'd you run it?
Orange County,
Yeah,
by the fairgrounds over there, Orange County. Yeah.
Yeah,
Crazy. But I did it. And
No,
then
but I respect,
and I kept
yo,
doing more.
Andy, that-
Respect. I got respect for that, man.
Well, like the reason I bring that up, man, it's almost like for me too, right? When I start getting like bored or stagnant or even frustrated, I'm always looking for something that gets my brain to go back into that like childlike posture again. Because one of the things
Like
I've
a
learned
reset,
is
like a
arrogance
reset,
and
Daniel,
or an
something?
ego check somewhere.
Or an ego check, or reset. Yeah. So what do you do for that, Daniel? How do you do that? You go play golf?
well, so I try new things,
Yeah.
right? Because the brain, like they say, like doing familiar things, like going. So there's a book I love called 0 to 1, right? Going 0 to 1 is really hard. It's literally like I think all three of us we're always inventing, trying new things, trying to figure things out, but it's really difficult. Going 1 to N, meaning like copying something or repeating something, is a lot easier because it's already been built. You know what I mean? So, you know, even with my business, once I figure something out, it's cool. Like I'm excited. Like, oh yeah, it's working. But there's almost like I don't know if it's a good gene or maybe a genetic failure, but like I'm always constantly looking to do new things. You know what I mean? I'm like, what's gonna put me back into that childlike posture that I don't just like plateau. I hate plateauing.
Same.
You know what I mean? So, you know, for me, like when I was in Hawaii, I started getting into cards because I started collecting cards. It reminded me of my childhood. I had to learn cards. I go to the card show and I'm like, I feel like an idiot. And that's what I was trying to say about the hill. I have no problem feeling like an idiot.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like feeling stupid is a temporary thing.
Yeah, it's me. I was stupid. I went and bought a $270,000 NFT and opened a restaurant with it.
Hey, but you know that
I took
$270,000
that, yeah.
foolish move
Yeah, it's big. for
turned
me.
into,
It's huge.
right?
That was a huge moment for me at that time. I was the talk of the town in that moment, right? Whether you thought I was a crazy innovator or I was the stupidest person on earth, but I was definitely talked
You had
about
the
at that
hype.
time.
You got some hype. You're trending. Yeah. Nice.
Like, yo, so yo, can you talk about that? Because I remember this. You got the Bored Ape.
Yeah, I bought the board.
You
ape.
bought it.
Yep.
Yeah. Dude, Cal, you got to hear this story. This is
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah,
funny.
so I got, I learned about the whole Web3 at that time. I was like, whatever. Everyone kept talking about NFTs. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And I finally understood it as I started connecting it to the real world. I was like, oh, that makes sense. I get it. I see the power of it. And then I had this idea. Once I learned, like, hey, these pictures that you buy become your property. You own the image. I'm like, this is just like owning, like the Nike sign. Like if you're allowed to buy the Nike sign, you can do whatever you want with it. I was like, or you can buy a picture of Mickey Mouse. You can do whatever you want with it. I was like, what? You can own this? These are yours, owned. You don't have to pay any royalty on it. I got it. I know exactly what to do. And everyone was talking about it at the time.
Yeah.
The ape, every big celebrity was owning one. So I was like,
Yeah.
cool. I'm gonna buy one. I'm gonna build a restaurant called Bored and Hungry after this, and let's see what happens. And that opened. Once I did that, the wave started opening up. Opened so many doors. A week after opening this restaurant, I'm hanging out with Snoop Dogg talking about this project, and I was like, what is going on right now? This is not real. And then now we don't own the brand. We recently sold the company, but there's 3 stores in the Philippines, and there's a store in South Korea right now. And the
And
South Korea store is booming right now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but
All
this is-
from that, and it just went like
yeah,
it
all
just.
this thing that everyone thought I was crazy or stupid or whatever, but I was willing to take that risk. I was like, hey, I'm willing to be the face of this and take the hits on this right now.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
it was one of the such an eye-opening experience for me, and I learned so much throughout that entire process.
For
But
real?
it's a
Yeah.
it's a big risk. That's a $270,000
Dollar-
risk. That's just the NFT. That's not the restaurant yet, right? That was just the NFT that I bought first. And
So you
that-
just bought a $270,000
big digital
NFT,
image, digital image of an ape.
and you opened a restaurant built around it,
Yep.
and it just blew up. And you
And
still
it
got
blew up.
Wow. What year was that, and how quick of a time frame did
We
it grow?
opened in 2022, April 2022. As I bought it like March 1st, 2022,
Yeah.
and we opened the store in April of that year,
Yeah.
and it just went insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. 2 years after COVID.
And yeah, I recently exited and sold it about 2 months ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good on you.
Well, here's the cool thing, like what you just brought up though, Andy, right? Is like, and I feel like that's where like true entrepreneurship happens, is when you could bring your expertise that you've really had success behind and apply it onto a new sector, right? So it's like the internet, you know what I mean? Like, and even right now with AI is blowing up and going crazy. They say, hey, don't try to build AI. There's already like brilliant technologists that are figuring out AI. Like NVIDIA is doing great, like Microsoft's doing great, but they're saying, how can AI be applied onto these new sectors, right? how's it going to be applied to fitness? How's it going to be applied to food, right? And kind of taking these already existing things and then mixing them to somewhere else. And as a foodie, like you see that, right? Like you're constantly switching and changing up flavors, and you're creating something new. And it's almost like we're living in the era of remix.
Correct.
Instead of like the remix is the new originality, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But I kind of feel like with you, that's kind of like something that you've experienced, is being able to take your experience with food and then apply it onto these different, like food onto IP,
Yep.
food onto technology, and then, you know, maybe food onto like theme parks or and virtual and physical experiences. I think that's super cool that you're doing, you know what I mean? But hey, so Andy, like one of the things that in that same flow, one of the things that I love that Calum did, he took a risk, right? We went out to the licensing expo. I was like, yo, Cal, we should come out. Because you know what? Fitness influencers are going out there to explore what we could do in the fitness and possible IP sector. Like so we took a bunch of meetings. Could you give us some like advice, maybe even like Andy, like we'd love to pick your brain on that too. Like, you know, any thoughts? Because I tell Calum, he's going from Calum von Moger to Calum von Mogul.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I like that. I like that. I think there's so many possibilities with the fitness realm with IP, right? There's so many. There's such a huge fandom in that space as well, right? In health and wellness and fitness and IP brands. I think it just takes time to test out different things, and it takes a long time, right? I think for me within food and IP, it took a lot of these companies to really understand. I've been going to that show for 13, 14 years now, right? Before I was entering the doors, no, they won't even take an appointment with me. And if you come with me to this show this year, oh, you're the guy that did One Piece and Sonic the Hedgehog Cafe, right? They're chasing me down, hunting me down. Hey, we want to work with you. Like everyone's doors open now. I can almost go to any of the companies that open the door up for me now. But
the persistency
and trying different approaches. Hey, how do I maybe I work with a brand that's smaller right now just so I can get my foot in the door, just to show them the model. Like, hey, I have the model, I have the data now. Give me a chance with a bigger brand and I'll show you the magic.
Yeah.
And I think that's how you guys enter this space, whether it's with like with protein or
the collaborations are starting with the smaller steps first before you try and take on like a big one like Anaplex, Demon Slayer or something.
Exactly, yeah. Just
Nintendo,
try small guys, try something
ones.
small with them and show them the data for it, and then from there, the pieces they'll start getting like, I see it.
When you go to these, like, did you have like, because this is something that I remember, like, one of my thought processes going to the expo was like, okay, what's the intention? What's the plan? Like, what do we, when we went to these meetings, like, what's the direction? What's the outcome? What are we trying to get? When you went there to start and you were meeting or getting meetings or trying to get meetings with different companies and brands, did you have in mind a plan or something that you were trying to achieve, or were you just kind of filling out the area?
Early on, I was just trying to just get my foot in the door, right? Just get in front of their faces, whether I was going to work with them or not. Because what I started noticing as the shows started going on year after year, a lot of these guys start working for each other's companies, and they end up at like bigger titles and bigger roles. And they're like, I remember you from 5 years ago. And I'm like, yes, this person has the key to what I need now.
So you've got they get their eyes on. You get their eyes
so
on
now
them.
I'm like in the door. They go, oh, I know Andy. I know what he's been doing. I've been watching him for the past 5, 6, 7 years. It's time. Let's do something now.
Work with them. So it's just, you got to be patient. You got to have that patience.
Yeah, and I'm willing. And I'm, even with the larger brands, they're like, hey, we might not be able to do a deal for 2 or 3 years. I go, I've been going to shows for 12, 13 years. I'm patient. I'm still going to be around the next 5, 6 years. You're still going to see me, and I'm ready. So whatever.
Yeah. Good points. Patience, consistency. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
they're key points, but it's good to hear them. Like, you know, that makes sense. You know, when you put it down like that. Yeah.
Yeah, Cal. So it sounded like we did the right thing. We just showed up.
You know, keep showing up. Just keep showing up.
And you'll get an idea. You'll see some like a lot of brands that you wouldn't even be like, I didn't know this brand was doing this here. Like, hey, I might be able to come up with an idea for them. Let me just try pitch them.
Yeah, and then you probably, and then that's where the creativity in your minds, you start kind of getting different ideas or inspiration or. I mean, like with you, Daniel, like when we sat down, we were like, okay, we're just going to feel this out. You know, learn the space a little bit, especially with like licensing agreements with like, you know, supplements is quite difficult.
Yeah.
Clothing and stuff is a bit easier. accessories and stuff would be a bit easy. But there's different. I think there's obviously different levels and there's different, obstacles with all of them. But it was very interesting, and I was just like a sponge. I was like Daniel, you saw, like I was tapped out after day one. I couldn't soak in any more information or focus my but it was really insightful, and I'd go again next year just to learn more, learn more, and I think it's and plus because I'm also a big fan of a lot of those
titles,
the brands like Crunchyroll and Demon Slayer and
you're in it.
No,
You get it.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I still get excited when I go. I was like, oh, that brand's here. I need to get in the door and try to figure out how to work with them. Like,
right, yeah. So that's cool.
Yeah. So like it's funny. So Andy, we went over to the was it
Aniplex?
the Demon?
Yeah, Demon Slayer.
And we went-
Aniplex, yeah.
And it's funny because same thing. We were trying to figure out like what doors we could just get in, and I was like, "Hey, Cal, we could try, right? Like, let's see what happens." So we get in line, and they're like the gatekeepers are usually just like, "Oh, sorry, we can't." So we see this line, and they're all leaving. I would just walk up with Cal, and
I had a
"Hey,
VIP
guys."
ticket.
Yeah, no, seriously. So I was like, I know you guys are probably booked up for the show, but hey, any chance do you think we can squeeze in a meeting? This is Calum. He's a fitness influencer, and I'm like, dude, look at his ears, right? And she's like, are those real? And I'm like, no, he did not just do it for this meeting. And then, dude, she's like, actually, we have an opening at 4:30. So to the same point, and I think this is one of the big themes of this podcast that I think is almost like just go do it. Like don't limit the yes. Yeah. You don't know what's possible until you take your shot. And a lot of people just don't take your shot. And I think both you guys, I mean, whether it's, like for me, like there's this saying like fake it till you make it is almost like, I don't like that saying, but it's almost like just imitate and
learn along the way. Like I had zero experience in real estate when I did it. I had zero experience in clothing when I did it. I had zero experience in food when I did it. Same with license. I had zero experience, but I just hopped in and figured it out along the way. Whether I made those mistakes are important because I was like, okay, well, I did that. Next time I won't do that again.
Just gotta have a crack. Yeah. Just have a crack.
If not, then what am I gonna do? I'm gonna be 20 years from now. I'll be like, man, I could have done that like 10 years ago. Like I don't want to be the person that looks back and go, I should have done that. I'd rather do it all of it. And if I failed at least I know I gave it a try, right? And at least I did everything in life that I wanted to attempt. And
then you're gonna have no regrets later.
No, zero regrets.
I almost feel like that, bro. Like when I'm working with someone too, I'm like, I want to know how many times you made mistakes. Yeah. I don't care how you talk about all your wins. I'm like, well, bro, then maybe you don't know how to go through adversity, brother. You're like, I want to know the person I work with. Have you gone through things? Have you overcome those things? And then, then we might be on the same page. You know what I mean? I don't want to go to war with.
When you're winning, it's easy. It's easy. Yeah. But when you're fighting off adversities or setbacks, when you're like, hey, how well can you overcome? How well can you work under pressure? How well can you overcome failure? How well can you come back up from the setbacks? Or like how strong is that's a different mentality.
It is.
For sure. So I get it.
You gotta be a little crazy. You gotta be a little crazy to be in this world.
Crazy. Yeah.
Gotta be crazy. I like that one. Hey, so as we Andy, appreciate you coming on the Lift Lab. One of the things about the Lift Lab is it's not just about fitness, right? It's like mental, physical, spiritual, right? It's like lifting each other up, and encouraging like the next generation. Because I do believe that I was just talking about with this earlier about how video and media is like this incredible modern form of communication and passing along information to the next Andys, the next Calums, the next Daniels, right?
Correct.
And I wish I had podcasts early in my career that I could learn from all these other people's mistakes and wins and successes. It's almost like a roadmap that you could follow. If Calum's listeners and the fans of the Lift Lab, like, is there some just words of encouragement or things from your playbook of Andy Nguyen on how to win? Okay, sorry, dude. What from your playbook? If you could encourage and lift up people. Obviously, we were talking about COVID too. It was a terrible time, bro. Like people went out of business. Mental health become a major problem, right. Which is actually a weird thing too. It's like it's enabled a lot of like men to be able to talk about issues that were kind of taboo before. But like maybe could you kind of just spit a little bit on like maybe some encouragement that you would give to the next Andys or the next
Yeah, like what
generation.
and you mentioned a few of them, like with your consistently having it shot. Like, you got you raised some really good points.
I think the one I share on a lot of things that when people ask me this question, the thing I always tell people, the percentage of people's the failure of their first business, it's like 90 something percent, right? That's the number of for your first business. So if you do it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, once you get maybe to your 10th, 11th business, you only need to be right one time. You're right one time, the game changes, the door changes, the way people treat you changes. Like, right, even when I had my first, when I first had After's Ice Cream, I remember walking into the leasing office at the second location, and they looked at us like, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" And we're like, "What are we doing here? You guys are the ones that are requesting us." Like, they're like, you guys are the ones. Like, they couldn't believe it, right? But now, it's the red carpet for us. I didn't even notice it until my other partner told me. He goes, "Do you know all these leasing people roll out their carpet for you and treat you?" I was like, "Oh shit, I didn't even notice. I thought this was the normal thing." And he goes, "No, they treat you differently." I was like, it's probably because I've been doing this for a long time now. Built a track record of what I'm supposed to do. Yeah, I think it takes. Yeah, it could be your 10th, 20th. Just keep at it, and if something once it hits that one time, you'll see everything start shifting, and your chances of success will be a lot higher after that because you already know what to do. You already know how to start it. Formulate your team, formulate a lot of the processes, and just tweak things along the way. Because there are differences in businesses, but it's still a lot of the same processes along the way how to build, from your own foundation that you have.
Yeah, fundamental stuff. Yeah, but it's awesome. No, thanks, Andy. I appreciate your all the insight. It's good to have you on the pod.
I'm glad to be here
because we haven't really had many like different entrepreneurs, and I haven't met many different entrepreneurs. So it's interesting to get different experiences and knacks, and I think a lot of us are always wanting to think outside the box and figure out how to overcome what the next step is. And the things that you said, like it's like I keep thinking it's like just don't quit, like don't ever give up. As cliche and as easy that sounds,
That's true.
But just the process of going through it, so that's awesome.
Yeah. I almost feel like, Andy, like when I see you as you're talking, the visual that I get is like a seeder, like a farmer. You're just like seeding and seeding and seeding. Yeah. But the good farmer also, when the right ones start to sprout, hey, we stop the seeds. Let's start curating and really, taking care of the plants that are growing. And I think you've done such a good job of that, Andy. And as old school bros, like I just want to tell you, really, like it's been really cool watching you do your thing. You know what I mean? Because I do know how much that you've gone through. Like obviously we kind of had our paths intertwined in different seasons. You know what I mean? But like being able to see you kind of do your thing, and then also during COVID when all the restaurants were getting smashed, bro. Like, you know what I mean? That you literally built. Oh man, I'm being so cliche. You built smash burgers during the era of being smashed. But no, seriously though, it's like, yo, that season was so difficult. You know what I mean? And like, sitting here in 2024, we're doing a podcast, and my hope is, Andy, that you keep going. That like I know one of the other things that I've seen you do throughout the years is like you're really good about like talking with the kids and the youth. I know that's a big part of you, and that it's not just all about business. That's one thing I love about both you guys, right? It's like it's not always about business. No. Like Calum, for fun, we play Pokemon Go. But hey, Andy, you on Pokemon?
On Pokemon Go? I got in trouble for when I was playing. I was like at 3 a.m. at the Santa Monica Pier catching Pokemon in that time frame. I was like, I can't do this anymore. My wife's gonna kill me. I need to chill out. Yeah.
I've been there too. I've been there Santa Monica Pier.
You catch
slinging Pokeballs for a Charizard.
Yeah.
Dude, you gotta see Calum's Pokédex, bro. Dude, it's crazy. He's got shiny everything.
803 and counting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah, I'm proud of him.
And impressive that he's caught up on One Piece all the way.
Yeah.
All of the manga and anime.
Manga.
Oh,
and
crazy.
I'm up to the Gosai, the 5 elders. They're all dropping in. Getting hectic.
Hey, real quick, last question, Andy. Yeah. We were gonna end it there, but what do you do for fun, bro? Like
for fun?
Like dude,
okay. My everyday I always try to do something different every single day, right?
That's cool.
So before it was like I need to hit a different restaurant every day so I learn something. Not just learning something new, it's just my enjoyment. Like I don't like to do the same thing all the time. I like to mix it up. just to see a different experience, to do something different every day, whether it's going to a new place or reading a new book. Like right now, I'm playing pickleball a lot right now. I'm running.
Yeah, nice. Nice.
I'm still trying new places, eating at new places all the time, just experiencing a lot of different things. And
I like it.
yeah, going to visit new experiences, whether it's going on a hike with our friends or going to, if I go eat by myself, just observing different things, just like being observant. I like enjoying that stuff, traveling.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I like that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, dude, maybe Andy can get a lift in with Calum one time, dude.
Yeah,
If you ever want to catch a lift,
and I'll take you on a food tour.
Yeah, done.
Yeah.
Live, eat, and then lift and then eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Andy, hey, appreciate having you on, brother. Like, I'm hoping that your story and your message, really resonates with some of the listeners out there. I know, again, both of you guys, like, it's awesome to see, entrepreneurs and people that have achieved some success constantly reinventing themselves and trying new things. And I think both of you guys are great examples of that. And I'm hoping the listeners really got a good one out of this episode, because I think there was a lot of gems that came out of this. So appreciate you having you on, Andy.
Yeah, definitely honored, that we have a friendship, even at 10 years now, and the rest of you guys, and Mitch and Jacob and everyone here that I learned a long time, and obviously meeting Tom and Calum now, and hope we can continue to build.
Yeah. Thanks, Andy. Thanks for being on board, mate.
Yeah,
and it's good to hear your story, and I look forward to seeing the grand opening of your theme park.
That's the goal.
I'll be there, mate. I'll be
Working
there.
on it.
Let me cut the ribbon.
Right?
No, awesome, mate. Awesome. Well, thanks, guys, for tuning in. We'll see you in the next episode of the Lift Lab. Peace.